Low again. With us today are a trio of persons who represent different faces of the Hollywood scene. Please join us in welcoming Ruth Webb, Dr. David Glick, and Mark Harris. And now, here's your puckish man of the half hour, Skip E. Lowe.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you. And I promise you I'll never desert you again. Because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another picture. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Just saw the opening clip. When you see that...
It makes me sick.
Pourquoi?
This is probably the worst 25 years I've ever had in my life with this little monster. He never pays his commissions.
25 years means that you managed him for 25 years?
I got him out of the ash can. I'm going to do my best to put him back in the ash can.
Right.
I don't think we ought to even waste time talking about Mickey Rooney because we have two wonderful guests here
But Ruth,
who are much more deserving than this little son of a bitch.
Really? Is it that much? You have this feeling for him?
I have no feeling for him anymore at all. He used me.
Okay.
It's not only the people don't pay their commissions. A lot of people don't, including the producers when they take it out of the salary.
Right.
However, Mickey pays with praise. He takes out ads, Ruth, I love you, Ruth this, Ruth this,
Right.
Ruth this. And I did. I got him out of an ash can. Believe me, I got him out of an ash can. And then
Rejuvenating his career means that's
I
what
have
you meant.
done everything in his career, also to keep him in it when he's tried to screw himself up,
Right,
which he
right.
does continually. He talks too much. So do I. Let's talk about some interesting people.
No, I want to talk about Ruth Webb first. First, Ruth,
Yes.
I want to talk about the business you started. You were a singer. You were a girl singer in New York City.
I was a girl.
Yes, you were. Working clubs, cabarets, then became an agency. Girl singer. Where did you
I
start?
wasn't just a girl singer.
Lady singer,
I was
whatever.
I started in show business when I was 10 years old, actually. My father backed a company
Right.
that my aunt, who was a producer, directed. And until I was 15, I was with this stock company. And then I started getting into Broadway shows. And then because I didn't like to go on the road, because I always got sick and wound up sleeping with a leading man. And it was just really...
Are you one of those ladies that sleep with our
Well, I
leading
get
man?
lonely. I get lonely. I can't stand to be alone. So anyway, I'd come home and I'd always get kicked downstairs and get a divorce.
Uh-huh.
And so I started working the nightclubs because I couldn't get into that much trouble.
Right,
I was
right.
home. But in the nightclub area, as I didn't have to travel. I didn't have to get all involved with people and all the rest of it. But I did get myself involved with the mafia because well, I was supporting my husband, and his name was Albert Benajam, known to the press as Inajam Benajam.
Right.
We got a lot of that stuff on him. And rather than have the unionize his factory, he had a bottle cap and Dauber factory. He became the president of the union. And he was paying all these union things all the time, and I'm supporting the family. Well, I finally found out, and I picketed the union. I got a pornographic artist
Oops.
who was a fan of mine, and he did these great big things with the prison uniform and
Right.
everything else on, stabbing the poor little workers to death. And I said, we made all the headlines constantly. I made headlines long before I became an agent.
But, Ruth, well, you're an agent, but you were booking stars on Broadway shows. Jane Powell, you booked Jane Powell. You did all these.
I booked
Howard
Catherine
Keel, you
Grayson.
did.
I booked...
Well, let's let the audience know who you were handled. Not just Mickey Rooney, but let's know
no,
that
Mickey
you
Rooney
handled
is-
a lot of MGM Broadway stars. And
Let's
moved
talk-
to California. Wait, moved to California. Then Ruth Webb handled... You made Martha Raye. You got her that television after. You got her that...
I got her Paladin, yes.
You certainly did. Martha, very close.
God bless her.
Then Martha had a very bad accident.
Yes.
Then she got married. And they're talking about this gentleman who is Mark Harris. How are you, Mark?
How you doing, Skip?
God, to be talked about as young as you are, married to Martha Raye, What does, because you're going on all these shows, talk shows, and with the man on the radio from New York.
Oh, Howard Stern.
Howard Stern.
Otherwise,
it's hard for me to pronounce that name, Howard Stern, for me.
Howard Sperm.
Yeah, see, it's hard for me.
Mistake.
But Howard Stern show. Why so many Howard Sterns that?
Well, we
Mark
get
Harris?
we get along, but as far as Howard Stern, it's great publicity. I
Right.
love, you know, all the call-ins and
Right.
the dumb questions. They get dumb answers. What, you know, what's the big deal? I like it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, getting back. You handled Martha Raye, now you're handling Mark Harris,
Anything
who is
he
doing a
wants.
wonderful singing job, you're working cabarets now?
Yeah. In New York.
In New York.
Imagine, to go back after 14 years, your own home.
Where are you working?
Right now I'm going into Cerati's Supper Club on East 58th between 2nd and 3rd. It's the old La Familia.
And that's where you grew up, in Manhattan?
Brooklyn.
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 Uh-huh. You were in Garment Center, something
18
about,
years
and
in the garment
hairdressing?
industry. Hairdressing license to do that, yeah.
Really? Martha Raye and you got together and got married.
Yes.
Everyone was talking about it. But
gonna
now
be 3
they're
years.
knowing who Mark Harris is really all about. What is Mark Harris really all about, really? I
Some
mean, not
lunatic
just...
from Brooklyn, I don't know.
No, you're more than that, Mark.
A father of 4.
You're taking good care of a lady of...
Oh, yes.
A
You
lady
had
who
a
is...
child recently?
No, I have 4. I have 3 from the first wife and 1 7-year-old from the second.
Oh, I didn't know you had that many.
You didn't? He has other children, too. He has
gonna
other
father the
hobbies,
world,
darling.
yeah.
Mark, you're taking care of this wonderful lady, this
Yes.
wonderful human being who worked in Vietnam. You also got the medal for her. Tell me about
that was a tough push, you know, to go to Washington and to demonstrate. I didn't demonstrate in the 60s
Right.
and get her the Medal of Freedom. But taking care of Martha is no longer like I used to. She's quite ill now, and it's strictly the nurses at this point, not the way it was before.
And you're not at home. You're
No,
in a hotel.
We're in a hotel, and I keep commuting to New York for my project that I'm bringing to Broadway, which is Dorian Gray, and that's why I had the
Dorian
facelift.
Gray?
Yeah.
You had a facelift?
Yeah.
You were just...
Well, partial. I had a neck redraping and everything. After all, if I'm going to play Dorian Gray, the
Right.
musical, I have to look young. So that's why I looked at Ruth. I said, "Who is your doctor?"
And Ruth had a face job, too.
Yes, Dr. Glick, I think, is the most marvelous doctor in the world.
And this is
Besides that,
Dr.
he's so-
Glick at the end. Hi, doctor. How are
He's
you?
so cute.
You made these two wonderful people. You do stars.
Well, plastic surgeons of the stars have an innocuous beginning. Michael Jackson's plastic surgeon had the fortuitous event to be covering the emergency room at one of the local hospitals, and Michael Jackson had a burn to his face. Well, Ruth had an unfortunate event a couple of years back where she fell down some stairs, and instead of calling the orthopedic surgeon, they called me. And why me? She had a small little cut over her head, over her ear and her eye. And she's sitting there with 2 broken wrists, and they didn't even bother to call a orthopedic surgeon. They called me.
Right.
And that's my beginnings with the stars of Hollywood.
Is that your beginnings, really?
Well, a few years back.
Where you grew up? Here in
I grew
California?
up here locally, in the LA area.
But you're with Cedars.
I
You're
trained at Cedars, partially. I did some research and laser research there a few years back. But I do most of my work out of Century City Hospital, Midway Hospital. I try and avoid Cedars-Sinai as
I like
best as
Midway.
possible.
I really like the... What did you do with Mark just now? Mark is
Well,
interesting.
Mark had a new technique that we've been doing for several years. It's a closed facelift. It uses liposuction and superficial suctioning and elevation of skin flaps through small, little, tiny holes. And I brought some cannulas, but they're on the other part of the set to show. And we come in and do most of our work from behind the ear and under the chin, and lift this whole area up and redrape the skin and pull it back up, so that it gives his jawline the contour that it had when he was in high school. And in fact, Mark brought us a picture tonight that shows that his youthfulness has
It's
been
coming
regained.
back, yes.
Has
It
been
did
regained.
come back. What did you do here? You did something here.
We did extensive liposuctioning.
Really?
Extensive.
That means...
Not quite from head to toe. We stopped somewhere above the belt.
Oh, was I
But,
blind?
Doctor, he brought, Ruth, I'm sorry. He brought a cameraman. Tell me about this cameraman he brought
the
into
OR room,
the
yeah.
opera room.
Well, he wanted to prove to his manlyhood, I think, Howard Stern, and so we had to document this, and we documented it. We saved some of the fat for Howard, but I think Howard said he didn't need the fat. They've been doing some fat transfer to the penis, and I think Ruth wants to say something about that.
What do you want to say?
Oh, yes. Well, he is the greatest, as a sideline, he does penises, larger or smaller.
Howard or
Who?
No, I don't.
You,
do
Dr.
that.
Glick.
No, I don't do that.
You do not?
No, I
Well, I don't.
Doctor, tell me about the man
Oh,
who
dear
just
me,
had
did I
his
make a
penis
boo-boo?
cut and they redid it. Is that called considered plastic surgery? Or
Well, that is reconstructive surgery.
reconstruction surgery.
At its finest.
Is that working, you think?
I
wanna
think
know.
I think it works, but I think he has one of these implants to help him satisfy his.
Does he? Who?
Partners.
We're talking about
not you, Mark.
Babbitt.
Not you, Mark.
Yeah, I was going
I
to say
told
we
you I
should be talking
couldn't.
about
I told you I
Now,
couldn't do that.
if you're talking about Babbitt, this lady right here, Sherry Spillane,
Sherry
who's in your
Spillane.
office,
my partner,
they're handling Tanya Harding. They're handling,
Joey Beautiful.
and who else?
Um,
This wonderful man.
well,
This man, I cannot believe.
John Wayne Bobbitt.
Babbitt, yes, you're handling. Tell me about the jobs you're getting. He got a porno movie he just finished.
Well, that has nothing to do with us. Sherry,
Okay.
Sherry is Bobbitt. I'm sort of shepherding Beautifoco. I think that he's a lot of fun, and he's very down to earth. I think he's a good actor, and we're trying to get together a production of Breaking Legs,
Right.
which has been done on Broadway, to send him out with. I talk to him almost every day.
What kind of guy?
He's a wonderful guy with a great sense of humor, just a real down-to-earth guy who probably did what everybody else did. And
But Tanya Harding.
well, Tanya Harding, I have not had any direct contact with. This is Sherry, and
How
she's
did
had
she-
at least 300 offers for her, and she should be suing Penthouse for what they did. Because
What did they do?
they stole her honeymoon pictures.
Oh, they stole them?
They stole them, absolutely. We have the evidence. If she ever does sue Guccione,
Right.
Penthouse, which she should, we have the evidence that a deal was made for $500,000, and Gil Hooley got it. And I may be letting a lot of cats out of the bag, and I'm going to get hell when I get home, but that's what happened. but it's of no use unless she sues Guccione, which she ought to.
Right.
I mean, these tapes of her honeymoon are selling for $29 a piece in the tape stores, and Penthouse ran the whole thing, and it's unbelievable. But she says Jeff would never do that to me.
Tell me, with Ruth Webb, you've been with her how long now?
Well, I've been with Martha 3 years. Let's
You've been
not
with
spread
Martha Raye
rumors.
3 years? Have you been with Martha 3 years?
Yeah.
You've been a good guy. I had ideas about you at the beginning.
Everybody had
No, but
ideas.
I did. I said, God, this young guy coming in from Las Vegas, moving in Martha Raye. Marion, didn't I call you several times? And
Everybody called me because they couldn't get
But,
anybody else.
after knowing you, after getting to talk to you and getting to know what you really are like, you're very sympathical. You're really concerned about Martha. You're concerned about everything.
absolutely, yeah.
About the daughter. Tell me about the daughter. What's happening between that?
Well, my late mother taught me, if you have nothing nice to say nothing. There's nothing I have to say
Nothing?
about her daughter.
Okay, that's
No.
good. Okay, Mark.
Yeah.
But your career is going really
Yes,
guns afire.
Ruth gives me a lot of enthusiasm, and she just heard some of the music to Dorian that we're going
Right.
to put on in New York, October 18th. And she says, you're so determined. You know, I made Dorian a fashion designer, as I was.
Right.
So the opening number, needless to say, is a runway with 10 fashion models coming out, and then they introduce me, and we sing the first production song, Another Night of Beauty. So it looks very good. We have very important people attending.
How do you feel, Dr. Glick, sitting there looking at these two wonderful people that you really worked on and looking the results? What are the results? How do you feel about your results?
Well, I think they both have had experiences with plastic surgery, or patients have had plastic surgery before, and they both knew what was going to happen. But
You've had?
didn't
You've had?
know.
well,
I didn't.
Mark, you've known people who have had plastic surgery, and
Oh.
there's a lot of nurturing hand-holding that goes with the new patient. Mark had to go through some of this, and he still is. He still
What do you
has
mean
questions.
by nurturing you?
Well, there's a
Come on,
lot of
like,
there's a lot of hand-holding with the recovery from a patient.
Oh, I see.
One of my mentors of plastic surgery said to me, it's not the surgery that your patient's paying for, it's the conversation. It's a conversation that takes place after the healing phase starts. And with it, sometimes things take a little bit longer
Right.
to heal, especially with some of the new techniques, where you don't want to come up with a big scar from a facelift or those stigmata that happen. You
Right,
do some
right.
new techniques, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to heal. And the overall picture is good, and we couple some of these new techniques with a lot of new products in the skincare line, and those things seem to augment the procedures.
Doctor, when some client of yours walks into the office and they look pretty good, real good, and they want a face job, are you honest? Are you going to say, hey, you don't need it, you look good, wait Come on, tell me.
I am honest with my
Are you?
patients. Number one, those are the patients that you want to do because they make you look good. The ones that don't need much
you
done.
do them.
We get bodybuilders that you think that if my patients could look like you after surgery, before surgery, doing you as a bodybuilder,
right.
I'd be famous. And so we encourage the patients to feel their best, look their best, and it's a matter of interpretation. It's when you look in the mirror and say, Dr. Glick, I'd never come to see you for plastic surgery because I feel happy with myself. Other people that look your age want to feel younger, and people that are 20, 25 years old still have that image of looking in the mirror back at them and saying, this is not what I want. I have a tremendous number of patients that are into bodybuilding, that are naturalists, they're climbers, hikers that don't use makeup, and these patients still, they're vain. They come back and they want to have plastic surgery.
How many surgeons did you have? How many times you've been
How many
operating?
times have I?
Yeah, you've had several, haven't you, Ruth?
Well, not complete ones.
Well, Ruth,
Well, what do you mean by
we corrected 3 other plastic surgeons' facelifts on you.
Really?
I think at least 3.
correct?
At
Yes, he
least
did.
3.
Yes, he
Really?
did.
At
Doctor?
least 3.
Yes, he
And I
did.
think there might have been 4, but it's
Oh, no. I never, it's always 3.5.
3.5.
You weren't satisfied with yourself, looking
Oh,
at yourself?
I'm always satisfied. Well, the thing of it is, with me, is not a matter of vanity. But I handle some very important people, and I intend to keep on handling very important people, and they expect you as their mentor, their agent, their whom they look up to, to be vital and young and energetic. Dr. Glick has taken care of the looks. I usually sleep 1 full day a week.
Full day?
I sleep
Is that helpful, doctor?
It is to
Sleep?
me.
Well, some people, when they lie flat, they do get swollen a little bit, but
I'm not talking about the swelling.
rest is important.
Now, you see, with me, it was pure vanity. I had to
It
do
was
research.
vanity for you?
I had to do research for the part because we made this Dorian every 10 years,
Right,
a deal
right.
with the devil, who I wrote in as the doctor. Nip and tuck. The portrait ages, he doesn't. So it's a nip and tuck moment in the play.
Mark, what I don't understand, we saved you. You initially told me you were going to Costa Rica for surgery.
Yes, I was.
And I said to you very, very nonchalantly, I said, if you have problems after surgery, Mark, I'd be happy to take care of you. And I think that set in your mind, didn't it?
Yes.
And that solidified our
It's
relationship.
true. He
I
did.
believe so.
I was going to Costa Rica to get facelift, and stuff. So instead, we met at Ruth Webb's Christmas party, and he was telling me, I mean, he put the fear of God into me, with this Costa Rica business.
No, it was the grace of Glick. There was
The
no
grace
fear.
of
The
Glick.
grace of Glick.
Mark,
Dr. Glick.
I'm
Yes.
looking at you. Are you satisfied now with
Very.
Dr. Glick?
Absolutely, and he doesn't even know how famous he'll be if I pull off the Dorian Gray theater, just think
You
of
don't
that.
want me to be in the program?
No, not in the
Oh,
play.
okay.
He doesn't know the story of Dorian Gray, and now that I've remade it
So
with
you're
plastic
inserting him into
surgery-
the story? You're inserting him
No, I
into
made a part, not for him to play.
Yes.
But the doctor is the devil who Dorian makes the deal with.
I
So
see.
every time the painting ages, he goes for a nip and tuck.
Ruth Webb, busy lady, suing Mickey Rooney, we know that. But about a book. Your book is coming out. The Ruth Webb book. Tell me about that. Your memoirs. Everybody's right. Marlon Brando. I just finished Marlon Brando's memoirs that he wrote. Doesn't mention about his wives. Doesn't mention about Hollywood. He doesn't mention anything. What does he write about? Zero. People get it. You'll see what I mean. Wait until Peter Mansell's book come out. Then you'll see it. This book of Brando, getting $3 million stashed in the bank for what? Doesn't mention anything about. Are you mentioning what's happening in Hollywood? Are you mentioning the dirt, what people want to hear?
I'm mentioning the truth, which people do not tell in their own biographies.
Right. Go ahead.
And I have gone down to the bookstore and gotten the names of at least 100 famous books, biographies.
Right.
I have read probably about 20. Only 2 of them were interesting because they're so afraid to say anything about themselves. I mean, it's Terry Moore, Little Twinkle Toes, and that sort of thing. And I haven't slandered anybody, but I've told the truth. And this is the truth that hasn't been told in anything else that has been done.
Go ahead.
Well,
Like it's been done. You're going to tell me.
The book is ready. There will be a large ad coming out in National Variety next week, in which I have the name of at least 100 famous stars
that you have
in a web, all in a web. And my book is called Won't You Come Into My Parlor?
Won't you?
Won't you step into my parlor?
Right.
Uh,
Good title. Good
yeah, I think it's a good one. And then under that, I have, do you feel that any of these stars have left something out of their biographies?
Oh, I see.
And I have a
so
little
you're going to
picture
put
like
that in
this,
there.
And that's going to go in, and that's going to go in within the next 2 weeks. And then it's going into the publisher's magazine.
Right.
And so we're going to hit everybody. And of course, you'll have to turn this thing around about 3 times to be able to see all the names on it, because with the spider web going this way, and this way, I'm going to get a lot of attention for this.
Ruth,
Yes.
besides Mickey Rooney, who is the hottest that makes you upset a little more than Mickey Rooney?
You mean interest?
Yeah, who is really in your book? Give us a little tittle, you know.
I have so many things in my book I can't begin to tell you. I've got enough for about 4 books. This is why I've had to rewrite. But the person I'm most interested in handling and
Right.
working with right now, the greatest challenge, is Joey Buttafuoco, because I think he's a lot of fun.
Beautiful. But why? Why? Not just.
I don't know why.
Why, Ruth? Why?
Because
I see 0 there. I see absolutely 0. Why?
Well, there was absolutely 0 when I got Rooney out of the ash can.
No. Mickey Rooney was a star, and he's talented.
He's talented, but he's a monster.
Now, this other man just works in cars. Now, Ruth, come on, please. Why? Why are you dealing with such a man?
Because I think I'm so talented, I can make a star out of anybody.
Well, that's what Howard Hughes did.
That's right.
Of course.
Too badly, did he?
Mark Harris, your clothes. Tell me about your clothes. Your line of clothes. You do a line of.
Yes.
Did you know that, Doctor? He has a line of clothes.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm going into New York.
You
next
dress
week.
very nice, Doctor.
My wife dresses me.
Your
She's
wife
my
dresses you?
My wife,
Oh.
Susan.
Men's wife. You like did men all you? Did you dress any of your husbands?
No, but I dressed all my clients to go down for their auditions in New York.
Okay.
And they were all against the type, and I still do it, and they'd get the jobs because there'd be like Man of La Mancha, a blonde Aldonza who didn't fit the part at all except she could sing it. They all went in with the boots and the wigs. Everybody I've ever sent in for anything in New York was always dressed for the part.
Mark dresses himself.
I dress my wives.
You dress your wives because you have your own line of clothes.
Yeah, I have the line of shirts coming out. Next week we're just finishing the line in New York. So I go in, like for theater and for this.
Right.
Pretty busy. That's why it was just normal to make Dorian Gray a fashion designer. So the line of shirts.
You're really hot
will be
over
out.
this Dorian Gray.
Absolutely. Donald Trump confirmed to come already, and we have a lot of big people for Bacchus audition. It takes a lot of money to make a musical.
Tell me about more of your nightclub act. I mean,
Well, you were
I
there.
know,
I know you should
saw
cut in
you at
some
Shea Josephine's, but you
Josephine.
got up there and you sang, and it was great. But I meant more what you're going to be doing in New York on 58th Street.
Well,
Are you going to?
yes.
You had a girl with you last time. You're not going to have her again, are
No,
you?
this time, well, she's great. I don't say no,
No,
she's
I didn't
great.
say-
But what happened last week when I started at Cerati's, I was doing this, that, and the other thing, and all of a sudden I just hit them with some political satire.
Right.
Like I touched on. And then one man yelled out after I finished this song on Clinton, he says, "Do you have anything on Cuomo?" And it just so happens I did. And I brought the house down, really.
You have something about Clinton. Doesn't Mark Harris, Dr. Clinton?
Nothing at
really?
all. No,
It
the only thing I
disturbs
might
you.
have is that I was the forerunner of disliking him. That's the only claim amongst all these liberals in Hollywood.
Doctor, your surgeon, the bodies, the whole, you do all kinds of things,
I do
reconstructions.
pretty much head to toe.
Really? What made you get in? Where are you from? Originally from California, but made you become a plastic surgeon? I always wonder why a young man like yourself.
Timing.
Timing?
Timing.
Money?
Not really money. I think
Come on,
initially when
doctor,
I
this-
decided I wanted to be a surgeon, I wanted to be a cardiac surgeon
Okay.
because it was big money.
Uh-huh.
But there's a special part of plastic surgery that allows a surgeon to be the hand holder, like I was saying earlier, the compassionate person. And I can basically practice medicine irregardless of all the nonsense going on with healthcare any way that I want to. If I want to make a house call, I've made house calls on Mark. I believe I made a house call on Ruth too.
Really?
At the appropriate, because I can set up my own hours, my own time. And that's the beauty of plastic surgery. It's basically what a general surgeon or general practitioner used to be. We can do just about anything.
Psychology. You must have studied psychology because the way you're dealing with your patients, you said you have to nurture
right.
them.
That's right.
You've got to get into their brain
It's
to make them.
it's often a close call. Sometimes there are patients that are really not candidates because their mind is so messed up.
Can you really tell some?
You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Be very careful in certain patients.
Because I know a lady that went to get, what is it, suction? What do you call it?
Liposuction?
Yeah, and she died. She died right under the table, or under the, for what reason, I don't know, but she was very young. She was like 50. Yeah. But is it because of mentally she was terrified?
Well, I think that most of the risks of surgery are with anesthesia.
That's it.
And you have to be careful that your patient's not taking a blood thinner or something like that.
That is the most.
That their appropriate health is in satisfactory condition to meet the challenge of surgery. You don't want to have a stress test on the operating table. You want to make sure the patient's clear for surgery. Ruth had a very long, protracted preoperative exam because she has a history of heart problems, and we had to have clearance from her cardiologist before she could, and she went through with flying colors.
Do you know what's puzzling me right now, Doctor?
What's that?
At Cedars, 98 years old, who is in the hospital, brain surgeon. I'm looking at you. You're a doctor. Tell me, 98 years old.
I've got 96-year-old patients that make you look like you're not even moving.
You mean you've operated on 96? I've never heard of this.
Well, for emergency situations, for problems with the vision, with their eyelids, when the eyelids come down so far that they can't see, and they're very active people. There are some 90-year-olds that are chasing 76-year-olds that I have as patients.
Really?
Yes, they are.
Everything's relative.
I have one patient that's 96, or 94. Her name is Linda. She says, "Call me Linda." She is so vain. She had a skin cancer on her nose. We fixed that.
Yes.
And I said, we're going to fix this. Just think of it as you just had your nose job, the nose job that she's always wanted. By taking a little bit of skin off from the skin cancer, she got her nose ticked up a little bit. And she goes all the way out to Temecula, which is about 40 miles to date a 72-year-old. Amazing. Some of them have
What's the thing, that injection, and it moves around? What is that
called?
Collagen. Collagen. Well, collagen...
Dangerous, they say.
It can be. Anything can be dangerous.
But
it can be injected into an artery or vein, and it can cause problems.
It moves around.
It can move around. You can get immune problems to it. You can get allergic reactions to it. I do a lot of fat transfer. I use your own body fat, process it there during surgery, and then re-inject it in certain places. And it's another type of graft.
Is that what you did with him?
Mark? No, Mark
Use it again. He
Mark
threw it out.
Mark wanted me to give it to Howard, and Howard
wanted to get rid of it.
didn't really need it.
Oh, you took it out.
Yeah.
You took it out.
Sure, I would have liked to send it to my first wife.
What was your waist? How much did you take out of it? What did he eat?
Mark had about 1,600 cc's, about close to 2 quarts.
Really? Ooh.
But we did a lot of body shaping in the chest area, in the abdomen, the hips, and of course underneath the neck was just some fine body sculpting.
Speaking of that chest.
Yes. Oh, I see. Yes.
Oh, he didn't put the hair on.
Speaking of that, hair on the
We'll both
chest.
be in the Globe tomorrow.
Years ago, before they started making real false eyelashes, I used to cut off my own hair and dip it in nail polish and put them on my eyes, my lashes one by one for false eyelashes. And I would, mascara them. And then I found out that my own hair, including my pubic hair, was too fine to use.
Use your pubic hair?
A natural plastic surgeon.
I started to, but it really didn't make the best kind of hair. Yeah. So I used to go out on dates with people that I knew I didn't know them that well, or they wouldn't have let me come in. I would kind of case this up and down, and we'd be getting ready to make love, and I would take a pair of manicure scissors, and I would take a hunk. Wouldn't be from up here, though.
Oh.
and the poor guy, he thought he was going to get a blowjob.
Oh, is that all?
I think not a bobbit job, right?
Bobbit job.
Have you? Martha Raye. Because you're going on all these shows, talk shows, and with the man on the radio from New York.
Oh, Howard Stern.
Howard Stern.
Otherwise,
it's hard for me to pronounce that name, Howard Stern, for me.
Howard Sperm.
Yeah, see, it's hard for me. But Howard Stern show. Why so many Howard Sterns that?
Well, we get along, but as far as Howard Stern, it's great publicity. I love, all the call-ins and the dumb questions. They get dumb answers. What's the big deal? I like it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, getting back. You handled Martha Raye. Now you're handling Mark Harris, who is doing a wonderful singing job. You're working cabarets?
Yeah, in New York.
In New York.
Imagine, to go back after 14 years, your own home.
Where are you working?
Right now I'm going into Cerati's Supper Club on East 58th between 2nd and 3rd. It's the old La Familia.
And that's where you grew up, in Manhattan?
Brooklyn.
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 Uh-huh. You were in Garment Center.
18 years
and
in the garment
hairdressing?
industry. Hairdressing, licensed to do that, yeah.
Really? Martha Raye and you got together and got married.
Yes.
Everyone was talking about it. But now they're
years.
knowing who Mark Harris is really all about. What is Mark Harris really all about, really? I mean,
Some
not
lunatic
just,
from Brooklyn, I don't know.
No, you're more than that, Mark.
A father of 4.
You're taking good care of a lady.
Oh, yes.
A lady who is.
You had a child recently?
No, I have 4. I have 3 from the first wife and 1 7-year-old from the second.
Oh, I didn't know you had that many.
You didn't? He has other children, too. He has other hobbies, darling.
Yeah.
Mark, you're taking care of this wonderful lady, this wonderful human being who worked in Vietnam. You also got the medal for her. Tell me about that.
That was a tough push, you know, to go to Washington and to demonstrate. I didn't demonstrate in the 60s and get her the Medal of Freedom. But taking care of Martha is no longer like I used to. She's quite ill now, and it's strictly the nurses at this point, not the way it was before.
And you're not at home. You're in a hotel.
We're in a hotel, and I keep commuting to New York for my project that I'm bringing to Broadway, which is Dorian Gray, and that's why I had the
Dorian
facelift.
Gray?
Yeah.
You had a facelift?
Yeah.
You're just...
well, partial. I had a neck redraping and everything. After all, if I'm going to play Dorian Gray, the musical, I have to look young. So that's why I looked at Ruth. I said, who is your doctor?
And Ruth had a face job, too.
Yes, Dr. Glick, I think, is the most marvelous doctor in the world.
And this is Dr. Glick at the end. Is that considered plastic surgery?
Well, that is reconstructive surgery.
Reconstruction surgery.
At its finest.
Is that working, you think?
I think it works, but I think he has one of these implants to help him satisfy his.
Does he?
Who? Partners.
We're talking about
you,
Babbitt.
Not you, Mark.
I
told you I couldn't do that.
If you're talking about Babbitt, this lady right here, Sherry Spillane, who's in your office,
my partner.
They're handling Tanya Harding. They're handling
Joey Beautiful.
And who else? This wonderful man.
Well,
this man, I cannot believe.
John Wayne Babbitt?
Babbitt, yes, you're handling. Tell me about the jobs you're getting. He got a porno movie he just finished.
Well, that has nothing to do with us. Sherry,
no? Okay.
Sherry is Babbitt. I'm sort of shepherding Beautifoco. I think that he's a lot of fun, and he's very down to earth. I think he's a good actor, and we're trying to get together a production of Breaking Legs.
Right.
Which has been done on Broadway to send him out with. I talk to him almost every day.
What kind of guy?
He's a wonderful guy with a great sense of humor, just a real down-to-earth guy who probably did what everybody else did. And
But Tanya Harding.
Well, Tanya Harding I have not had any direct contact with. This is Sherry, and she's had at least 300 offers for her. And she should be suing Penthouse for what they did.
What did they do?
They stole her honeymoon pictures.
Oh, they stole them?
They stole them, absolutely. We have the evidence. If she ever does sue Guccione, Penthouse, which she should, we have the evidence that a deal was made for $500,000, and Gil Hooley got it. And I may be letting a lot of cats out of the bag, and I'm going to get hell when I get home, but that's what happened. but it's of no use unless she sues Guccione, which she ought to.
Right.
I mean, these tapes of her honeymoon are selling for $29 a piece in the tape stores, and Penthouse ran the whole thing, and it's unbelievable. But she says, Jeff would never do that to me.
Tell me, with Ruth Webb, you've been with her how long now?
Well, I've been with Martha 3 years.
You've been with Martha Raye 3 years? Have you been with Martha 3 years?
Yeah.
You've been a good guy. I had ideas about you at the beginning.
Everybody had
No, but
ideas.
I did. I said, God, this young guy coming in from Las Vegas, moving in Martha Raye's cabarets, then became an agency. Girl singer. Where did you start?
I wasn't just a girl singer.
Lady singer.
I started in show business when I was 10 years old, actually. My father backed a company that my aunt, who was a producer, directed. And until I was 15, I was with this stock company, and then I started getting into Broadway shows. And then because I didn't like to go on the road, because I always got sick and wound up sleeping with the leading man, and it was just really...
Are you one of those ladies that sleep with our leading man?
Well, I get lonely. I get lonely. I can't stand to be alone. So anyway, I'd come home and I'd always get kicked downstairs and get a divorce. And so I started working the nightclubs because I couldn't get into that much trouble. I was right home. But in the nightclub area, I said I didn't have to travel. I didn't have to get you know, all involved with people and all the rest of it. But I did get myself involved with the mafia because well, I was supporting my husband. And his name is Albert Benajam, known to the press as Inajam Benajam.
Right.
We got a lot of that stuff on him. And rather than have the unionize his factory, he had a bottle cap and dauber factory. He became the president of the union. And he was paying all these union things all the time, and I'm supporting the family. Well, I finally found out, and I picketed the union. I got a pornographic artist who was a fan of mine, and he did these great big things with the prison uniform and everything else on, stabbing the poor little workers to death. And I said, we made all the headlines constantly. I made headlines long before I became an agent.
But Ruth, well, you're an agent, but you were booking stars on Broadway shows. Jane Powell, you booked Jane Powell. You did all these.
I booked Grayson. You did. I booked.
Well, let's let the audience know who you handled. Not just Mickey Rooney, but let's know that you handled a lot of MGM Broadway stars. And moved to California. Wait, moved to California. Then Ruth Webb handled. You made Martha Raye. You got her that television after. You got her that.
I got her Paula, yes.
You certainly did. Martha, very close.
God bless her.
Then Martha had a very bad accident.
Yes.
Then she got married. And they're talking about this gentleman who is Mark Harris. How are you, Mark?
How you doing, Skip?
God. To be talked about as young as you are, married to...
Low again. With us today are a trio of persons who represent different faces of the Hollywood scene. Please join us in welcoming Ruth Webb, Dr. David Glick, and Mark Harris. And now, here's your puckish man of the half hour, Skip E. Lowe.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you. And I promise you I'll never desert you again. Because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another picture. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Just saw the opening clip. When you see that...
It makes me sick.
Pourquoi?
This is probably the worst 25 years I've ever had in my life with this little monster. He never pays his commissions.
25 years means that you managed him for 25 years?
I got him out of the ash can. I'm going to do my best to put him back in the ash can.
Right.
I don't think we ought to even waste time talking about Mickey Rooney because we have two wonderful guests here who are much more deserving than this little son of a bitch.
Really? Is it that much? You have this feeling for him?
I have no feeling for him anymore at all. He used me.
Okay.
It's not only that people don't pay their commissions. A lot of people don't, including the producers when they take it out of the salary.
Right.
However, Mickey pays with praise. He takes out ads, Ruth, I love you, Ruth this, Ruth this,
right.
Ruth this, and I did. I got him out of an ash can. Believe me, I got him out of an ash can. And then
rejuvenating his career means that's
I have done everything in his career also to keep him in it when he's tried to screw himself up, which he does continually. He talks too much. So do I. Let's talk about some interesting people.
No, I want to talk about Ruth Webb first. First, Ruth.
Yes.
I want to talk about the business you started. You were a singer. You were a girl singer in New York City.
I was a girl.
Yes, you were. Working club. Hi, doctor. How are you?
So cute.
You made these two wonderful people. You do stars.
Well, plastic surgeons of the stars have an innocuous beginning. Michael Jackson's plastic surgeon had the fortuitous event to be covering the emergency room at one of the local hospitals, and Michael Jackson had a burn to his face. Well, Ruth had an unfortunate event a couple of years back where she fell down some stairs, and instead of calling the orthopedic surgeon, they called me. And why me? She had a small little cut over her head, over her ear and her eye. And she's sitting there with 2 broken wrists, and they didn't even bother to call a orthopedic surgeon. They called me.
Right.
And that's my beginnings with the stars of Hollywood.
Is that your beginnings, really?
Well, a few years back.
Where you grew up? Here in California?
I grew up here locally, in the LA area.
But you're with Cedars.
I trained at Cedars, partially. I did some research and laser research there a few years back. But I do most of my work out of Century City Hospital, Midway Hospital. I try and avoid Cedars-Sinai as
I like
as
Midway.
possible.
I really like the. What did you do with Mark just now? Mark is interesting.
Well, Mark had a new technique that we've been doing for several years. It's a closed facelift. It uses liposuction and superficial suctioning and elevation of skin flaps through small, little, tiny holes. And I brought some cannulas, but they're on the other part of the set to show. And we come in and do most of our work from behind the ear and under the chin, and lift this whole area up and redrape the skin and pull it back up, so that it gives his jawline the contour that it had when he was in high school. And in fact, Mark brought us a picture tonight that shows that his youthfulness has been
coming
regained.
back. Yes, it did come back. What did you do here? You did something here.
We did extensive liposuctioning.
Really?
Extensive.
That means
not quite from head to toe. We stopped somewhere above the belt.
Always I
But doctor, he brought, Ruth, I'm sorry, he brought a cameraman. Tell me about this cameraman he brought
the
into
OR room,
the opera room.
Well, he wanted to prove to his manlyhood to, I think, Howard Stern, and so we had to document this. And we documented it. We saved some of the fat for Howard, but I think Howard said he didn't need the fat. They've been doing some fat transfer to the penis, and I think Ruth wants to say something about that.
What do you want to say?
Oh, yes. Well, like he is the greatest, as a sideline, he does penises, larger or smaller.
Howard or?
Who?
No, I don't.
You,
do
Dr.
No,
Glick.
I don't do that.
You do not?
No, I don't.
Well, I don't.
Doctor, tell me about the man who
dear
just
me,
had
I
his
make a
penis
boo-boo?
cut and they redid it.